was killed. I learned that over the phone. I called Earl for one reason or another, and he told me that Kennedy had just been assassinated.
That's right.
But we did drive around in that 59 Oldsmobile station wagon. I think we were both in it when the steering box broke, and we didn't follow the curve of the road. We went straight into a little gas station there.
I was driving. I turned the wheel to go into the station, and when it got in the station, it just kept going around this way. It was like a leather thing, you know, there at the cow. It's like a leather. It reminded me of a leather thing. It's kind of like a U-joint, you know, but it was made out of leather, and it just been turned too many times.
Well, the steering box broke and all the fluid ran out. And I remember when the power steering pump blew the hose off on the Pennsylvania Turnpike at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that was life on the road with that car. The base rode on the roof except when it rained, and then one of us had to ride curled up under the base, with the base inside.
Bill Monroe kept his mandolin right back. Ooh, my arm. In that station wagon, he kept it right back here. You know, he stayed in the right-hand rear corner of the car, and he kept his mandolin right behind him, you know, in that station wagon. If he thought of something that he wanted to, or, you know, if something come to his mind, he'd just reach back and get his mandolin, get it out and play a little. One day he was doing that. I don't know if Keith remembers this, Bill remembers this, but he was playing this little tune, and I was sitting in the middle on that hump, and you might have been driving. And anyway, Kenny Baker's sitting over here, and so he was playing this little thing, and he said, now, Dale, do you know what that tune is? And it sounded like Woody Woodpecker to me, you know, and I thought Bill Monroe wasn't just playing Woody Woodpecker. And I was afraid to say what I thought it was. I said, Bill, I don't know what that is, you know. He said, you play it again. You don't know what that is? And after a while I said, that's Woody Woodpecker. He'd do that over and over. So he had a sense of humor.
Gee, he never recorded that.
That's one he didn't record yet. But he did. He had a sense of humor. But you know, I don't know about Bill Keith, but I could never figure him out. I just never figured Bill out, you know. But I never knew if he was serious or if he was joking, you know. He wanted it that way, didn't he?
Yeah, you're right. He was a man of moods anyway, you know, and you didn't want to cross him if he was not in a good mood, so you had to treat him with some reserve at all times.
Yeah, he liked it that. He liked it quiet, didn't he?
Richie?
Actually, I reminds me of the story. You know, Bill toured up in Boston a lot because, well, Bill's roommate, Jim Rooney, was running Club 47, so there were...
Bill's confused here, you mean, because you...
Oh, that's right. Yes, Brad's
roommate.
Excuse me. Brad's roommate, Jim Rooney, was running Club 47, so this was great. You know, Bill Monroe came up about, 5 or 6 times a year, so one day I went over there, and I think it was just when Vic Jordan had joined the band, Lamar had left, and it's probably like, it was 1967 in the fall. So I walked into Club 47, and Bill runs over to me, how you doing, man? How you doing? How's it going? So this is great, And then, we talked a little bit, and he said, I'll talk to you later. He goes out to the bus and goes. And then Roland comes up to me and said, wow, he must really like you. He hasn't spoken to us in 3 days.
Well, didn't he refuse to speak to somebody for not Flash Crosby? He didn't speak to some sideman for 20 years. And the guy was just mortified. What did I ever do and all that? And finally, after all those years, he went up to the guy and said, I was just kidding you. For 20 years, the guy, what did I do? That was his idea of a joke. He wasn't speaking to him for 20 years. What was it like to first go on the stage of the Ryman Auditorium, a brand new member of the Bluegrass Boys? you'd never played there before, and all of a sudden you were out there on the stairway to heaven. I mean, what was your feelings playing at the Ryman stage for the first time? Bill? Brad?
Well, you know, I really didn't dwell too much on feelings and trying to react. I was there to do my best and thought it best to concentrate on that. And I guess it was after the fact that I began to appreciate the importance of the place and the event. But at the moment, I was just trying to not miss a note, you know.
You didn't either. You didn't miss a note.
No.
How about you, Del?
I did.
Well, you know, it was before Bill got Del in the band onto the Opry, and I never really understood why. You know, he had to sponsor somebody for entrance into the union down here, and I was already a member of the Musicians Union up north, and it's the same union, right, at International.
Yeah.
But I came down here, and Mr. Cooper was running the place, and I said, well, I'm already a member of the International. He said, you got to join again down here, and you got to pay your initiation fee, and you got to, you know, ante up for dues, and so it was like my union card from Massachusetts was worthless, and I guess maybe it was a problem Bill had in sponsoring people or whatever, but it was later that, you know, that Del joined us on the Opry stage.
Yeah, he got me in after 2 weeks. I think the first time I was with you guys on the Opry stage, the first week, I sang and couldn't play. Jackie Phelps played guitar, I think.
Yeah.
And that was kind of strange, you know. But then I think the next week, he took me down to the hall and he joined, you know, had me join. But I think what it was, you know, I guess we were kind of lucky in a way. In another way, we're not, because it's all the International Bluegrass, or the International Musicians Union. But, you know, they had a certain amount of steel players. They had a certain amount of electric guitar players and bass players and drummers probably at that time. And Bill was the only guy probably could get people in the union here, in this local, you know. He'd been here a long time too. Been here since I was born, and you were born.
That's right.
Same year.
Well, it's 39.
39.
You know,
He's a month younger than me.
don't I look it? I will tell you, I'd like to tell about the first time Del was, in my memory, that Del was on stage with Monroe. Actually, both of us were staying at that Clarkson Hotel, like I mentioned, and the rooms there were $14 a week.
I can't remember how much it was.
Well, that was for a room with the bathroom down the hall.
Yeah.
And my room had a pay radio. You drop a quarter in for an hour. Anyway.
No air conditioning.
And we ate in a little restaurant attached to the hotel. I noticed it was a Class B restaurant up there, and the food inspector was Kirk McGee. Kirk McGee, he inspected the restaurants around Nashville. Anyway, we got a call to be available to leave on our first tour with Bill down in Alabama and Mississippi, I think it was.
Yeah.
And so usually on days like that, we'd check out in the morning and just sit around the lobby until the car came. And sometimes we'd be sitting there 6 or 8 hours waiting for the car to come up. Well, it arrived, and Bessie Lee was driving, and there was no one else in the car. So I said, what's happening? She said, well, we're going on tour down to play some gigs with the Sullivan family.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I said, well, where's Bill? Where's Kenny? You know, Kenny had to go back to Kentucky for something, and Bill is ill. He's in the hospital. He's not doing well. But we're going to go out and do this tour. So the two of us greenhorns get in their car and go down and rehearse with the Sullivan family and
Bessie Lee.
And Bessie Lee. And so the three of us were getting out there. I remember we played Crying Holy to the Lord, and you didn't know the verses, so you just sang the chorus about 4 times.
That's probably true. I don't remember that part.
So, and Enoch Sullivan was apologizing that Bill was in the hospital and on near death's door, and we ought to pray for him, and anyone that wanted their money back because Bill wasn't there could come and get it now and get out of there. So we did those shows, and the last one was Friday night down in Louisiana, and into a pretty big crowd, and so Enoch made the same announcement and everything, and well, everybody stayed to hear us, and we did our little part, and then went out, got in the car to drive home, and turned the radio on, and what do we hear but Bill Monroe on the Friday Night Frolic.
Oh my God.
Suddenly felt much better and got a band together and was on the radio. Ducked down in my seat, man. I was so embarrassed driving out of there, thinking that other people are tuning it in too and hearing it. And that was the night I think you had put in your contact lenses for the first time, and then on the ride back to Nashville, Del fell asleep in the back seat. Well, it came morning, arriving in Nashville, and Bessie was angry at me for another reason, which would take a little long time to explain. But she got up in front of the hotel and said, "Okay, here you are, out the door." And Del said, "I can't open my eyes." His eyelids had fused onto these contact lenses. So I led him into the hotel and got him a room, and I had to call a doctor who came over to the hotel and removed these things and put patches on both eyes. Then I went down to the Opry to do the evening with Bill Saturday night, came back and got Del. We both went got in my car, and we drove out, and when we were leaving with Bill on a job, often he would tell us, "Well, go park behind the bank in Goodlettsville," and he'd come by and pick us up later. And
Yeah, there's a drugstore there. Yeah.
it seemed to. Wouldn't a person be suspicious? There's 2 guys sitting in a car behind the bank, smoking cigarettes. So anyway, Bill came and got us and took us up to Bean Blossom, and I think that was the first, as I remember, that you were on stage with Bill, was up at Bean Blossom. We had to put him in front of the microphone, and couldn't see a thing. It's going to have those patches on.
I could still see, but my eyes were swelled, And some guy said to Bill after the show, he said, "Was that guy drunk last night?" I could see a little bit, not that much.
Funny, backstage at Bean Blossom too, we were all the way back there once, and a guy came bustling in the door, and he says, "I want to see Bill Monroe." I said, "I came here when I was a kid and saw him, and Mr. Bill Monroe, I just want to shake his hand." And Bill stood up and said, "Well, I'm Bill Monroe." The guy looked at him for a minute, he says, "No, you ain't Bill Monroe. I used to come here and see him." And Bill, after he said, "Well, I am Bill Monroe." And the guy looked at him for a minute and says, "Well, you ain't as jolly as you used to be."
Never was jolly. He was thinking about Charlie Monroe, because Charlie was jolly.
Yes, he was.